Hey everyone, it's Joe with SignTracker. Thanks so much for joining us for today's webinar. Today we're going to focus on the quoting in SignTracker. So let's start off by opening up a job. So if you're already in SignTracker, you've started a new job. If I open up a job, this is where I'm going to do the quoting for a job. So just to show you, if I was providing a quote for a customer, I would click Quotes, and then I would choose from a template. So you create these templates, and we'll be talking about setup and all that in a minute. You create these templates for any product type, and you can also set up categories like channel letters, commercial signs. I even have a customer that does nothing but beer distributorships, and so he wanted to set up basically categories for each brand, and then the signs, and then quoting templates for the signs underneath each brand. But whether it's flat cutout letters or just a general blank template, I'll show you how to do that. But you always do the quoting for a job in a job. So just really fast to talk about this, if you're in SignTracker and you need to provide a quick quote for a customer, all you need to do is go New Job, and then even if it's nothing more than capturing, the client's name and a little bit of contact information, you can always go back later on and fill it out before you officially give them a quote, or before they give you a deposit or whatever. But you will do the quoting for a job in a job. And if you don't get the job, you just archive it. And I know that's a bit of semantics. Like some shops say, well, I don't really call it a job until I sell it. And at our shop, we always called it a job only because we felt like we needed to do things to it, like quoting, for example, or maybe even getting the client's artwork. Or if you do electric signs, maybe you have to go out and do a site survey to at least see what you're dealing with. So anyway, when you're in a job, I'm just going to do a really simple one. I'm going to select under the banner category 4x8 banner, and it's going to already be filled out. And you'll see, and we'll talk about this in the setup, there's item categories like material and labor, and then you can control the markups under any category. So inside of a job, you can also change the markup, and it's not going to hurt any of the templates that you create. You can also add items or delete items, so whatever you need to do. Same with labor. And then you can also create additional categories. So any changes you make to a pre-set up template within a job, again, it doesn't hurt the original template. So if you have sales commission, that can be pre-set up. You can also, when you're doing a job, add additional charges. Let's say it's a rush charge. We'll say it's $100, and you can, instead of a percentage, choose dollar amount. If you decide to give your customer a discount, that's gonna basically take whatever amount you put in, whether it's $100 or if it's 5%, and it's going to subtract it evenly amongst the item categories. So again, these are the item categories, material, labor, and then these are the items themselves. And it's either going to be, in each category, you can choose what you want to show up in these drop-down menus. It can either be material, labor, or formula items, or all of them. Extras, now these are going to be things, and again, when you're setting up the template, you don't have to necessarily add these. But we always liked to add things like permits and surveys or art setup fees that we would line item down the bottom of the customer quote. And then that way there, if the customer said, well, hey, the sign's $50 or $100, why do I have to pay, a $100 permit fee? Say some cities require banners have a permit. And that's where I would always just shrug and say, hey, it's not my fault. It's the city makes me do it. So, and it didn't make the sign look too expensive. You can, if you don't like doing that and you just want everything kind of clumped into one number, and then you can always put that in the description. Hey, this price includes permits and surveys, art fees, or whatever. That's fine too. It just depends on how you like to present the information to your customer. Taxes. Now, if you're syncing with QuickBooks, all your tax categories are going to come over from QuickBooks. So when we go to the setup section and I show you the material, labor, formula items, you'll see a section to set up taxes too. If you're planning on doing the integration with QuickBooks, and we sync with QuickBooks desktop version and online, those taxes will come over from QuickBooks. So if your intention is to sync with QuickBooks, the sooner you do that, the better. And you do that under setups, and we can take a quick look at that too. So for the contract, the customer does see this. When you're setting up these templates, this is where you're going to type a nice description of the product, and then that way there you don't have to retype it anytime. And again, you can add to it. I could say art fee or whatever. Any say you needed to order a banner stand or some H sticks for Coroplast signs or whatever, H stakes. You can add anything you want here, and it's not going to hurt the template. Notes and details. So here the customer does not see this, it's internal. So I always encourage people, if you come back to this quote in a year from now, the customer calls and says, hey, remember that banner I ordered with that fancy banner stand? I want to order the same thing. Well, it's fine. This is where you would put a note like, hey, this was a special order item or whatever you want to put. The customer doesn't see it. If you hired a subcontractor to do something and you had some notes or phone numbers or whatever. So once you're done with the quote, then you save it and finish it. So now you get the summary page. You can kind of take a look, make sure your notes look good, everything looks good. And now you're going to generate a contract. So I'm going to just click Generate Contract here. It's going to take me to the contract section and automatically check off the one that I just did. Now, inside jobs, you can do multiple quotes that will go into one contract. So it's kind of nice. So if this job number for Subway banner, they wanted a banner, but then they also wanted, say, some window graphics, and they wanted a couple of little bandit signs or something like that. That can all go in one job on one quote. But we'll just do the one to keep it simple. The quote name, and if you want to put version 1 or whatever, you can any naming system that you like. And then the notes here, the customer does see this, so you can type in whatever you want. So for example, if you're installing a channel letter set or even a banner over their door front, and you need access to the front of the space or inside the space, this is a great place to put notes. Also, and we are working on making this a little bit more customizable, but in the meantime, if I highlight this, and if like shortcuts for bold or italic or underline, on a Mac it's Command-Shift-B, I can make this bold. And then you can also do like underlining it and all kinds of stuff. So okay, so now you've generated a contract. Everything looks good. You can download this as a PDF and email it to your customer and send it off with the artwork. So let's take a look at some of the setups. I'm going to close out of this job, and now we're going to go to Setup. And first we're going to go to Settings before we go to Quoting. And so when you first set up SignTracker, you'll have your logo here, and then under Contracts, you can click here, and you can change the terms of the contract. And again, you should be able to make it bold or underline it. And I think I said in the last section Command-Shift. I think on a Mac it's just Command-B for bold, Command-U for underline, Command-I for italic, and I'm sure the shortcuts on a PC, I'm a Mac guy, so are pretty similar. So anyway, you can do that. Here is, but if you have different terms than this, that's fine. You can add all your terms here. If you want your default deposit to be 50%, you can do that here. If you want it to be, sign quote or sign bid, whatever you want to title your contracts, sign quotation and contract, you can change this title here. Your logo, once it's imported, you can size it so that it looks good. And then that's pretty much how you set up the look and feel of your contract. So now let's go and take a look at the quoting settings. Okay. So under the quote setup, you're going to have materials, labor, and formula items. And then, like I said earlier, your taxes will come over from QuickBooks. So we threw some items in here just as a sample. You can delete these. You can hide them all if you want to. If you want to just import your own, there is an import tool too. It acts a lot like Excel, so you can import if you have a CSV file, or you can just open up an Excel file and copy and paste right into these. So let's go back here for a second. So let me just talk about the difference between materials, labor, and formula items. So materials obviously are raw materials. I highly suggest you enter in the materials the way that you're charged for them. So let's just take a look at one of these. We'll say this substrate. So if you're charged, let's say for example you have a substrate and it costs you, it's a 4x8 sheet and it costs you $100 a sheet. Well, you might want to, if you wanted to do it the units as a square foot or each or whatever, you can choose how you sell it. But I always encourage you to enter your cost of materials as you're charged. The other thing is with materials, we do have a little bit of a markup. This is not necessarily intended for profit. It's really more intended for waste or handling. So for example, if you're routing, even if you nest it really tight, if you're routing a sheet of aluminum, you might still throw away 10%. So this is a place for additional markup. I know I've talked to some vinyl shops and they said, well, hey man, I buy a roll of vinyl, I'll put 100% markup on it before it even goes into a quote, and then I'll mark it up again for the company overhead. So you can control that. And you can control how you sell it, each by the box, inch, yard, square foot. I mean, it's all here. So that's material. Labor items are just that. And we preloaded, I think, around 25 of them, 26 of them. I always just recommend the first thing you might want to do is go through the labor items and go through the formula items, which we'll get to in a sec, and just delete the ones you don't use and then edit the ones you do. Or you can hide all of ours and just enter your own. Some shops just look, man, I have one shop rate. It's, $100 an hour for the shop. It's 120 in the field. That's fine. If you don't break your labor down, you certainly don't have to. I like the idea of putting in your labor costs based on your overhead, your labor burden, as they say. And I have a great Excel sheet. If you guys want to send me an email, hit me up at joe@sign-tracker.com. I'll send this Excel sheet, and it's really good. You kind of enter in all this, all the costs of literally from your rent or your mortgage to your insurances. And then it will help you calculate what your shop rate should be to cover all your expenses. And then you can kind of figure out, well, okay, great. If all my overhead is 10 grand a month, then I need to be billing out X amount of hours to be able to cover all my costs in my shop. So anyway, with labor rates, I prefer to enter it in that way. A lot of people don't. A lot of people just enter it in, look, I know my labor rate is, $100 an hour, $150 an hour in the field, or whatever yours may be. And that's fine. You can enter in your retail labor rate here as well. And then just remember, when you're building the templates, just have a 0% markup on your labor category, because that is already what you're charging a customer. And again, inside the job, you can always add a little bit of additional profit or additional markup if it's a rush charge, or if it's going to put some guys out in the field for overtime or whatever. So formula items. In the sign industry, this is just how we do things, right? We have square footage pricing for banners. We have upright inch pricing for channel letters. Linear foot pricing for vinyl, and maybe for vehicle wrap, square footage pricing. So we have the tool in here for that. So let's take a look at one of these. And again, we pre-populated this with, I think, 50 of them or so. And I would just recommend just going through them right off the bat and deleting the ones you don't sell, and then adjusting the ones you do. So in your setup for quoting, focus on the labor rates and the formula items first, because those will go pretty quick. And then your materials, you can always either do an import, a mass import, and then adjust them, or you can kind of add them as you're building quoting templates. That's another way to do it too. But let's take a look at this for a sec. This is a banner, mesh banner, and it's under the category of banner for the material, and the unit price is $6 a square foot. So you choose your unit price down here. Now, if you want to give, if you offer variable pricing or discount pricing based on volume, you can do that here. So let's say, for example, it's up to 150 square feet, because that's how you're selling it, square foot. It's $6 a square foot. But if they go over 150 square feet, it's 95% of the unit price. So math is hard. So whatever 95% is, 550 or whatever. And then the same with if you go over 200 square feet, it goes 90%. So you get a 10% discount. 300 square feet, 15% discount. You can add as many of those tiers as you want. So when you're actually inside the job and you're doing quoting in a template, and if I pulled up a mesh banner and I'm saying, hey, it's $6 a square foot, but that particular project, it was a huge banner, and it was 300 square feet, it'll automatically adjust the price down for you. Okay, so now one more time. You have material, labor, formula items, and then taxes that feed into these templates. So let's take a look at the templates. First, you're going to have a master template. So you're going to want to edit that. So click that, and then all the master template it's your item categories. So you can see these little item categories. And then you choose, what do I want to show up in my item drop-down menus? I want just material items to show up. And I want everything that shows up in this category to be marked up 50%, which will show you here. It'll show the breakdown of your markup, the cost, the markup, and then the total. Same with labor. Now again, if you're going to enter all your labor rates in as retail labor rates, then you're going to want to change this to a 0% markup. And you could always, like I said, add rush charges or overtime charges inside individual jobs. And we're going to say formula items. Same thing. You choose. You want to enter your formula items in, what you charge the customer. A lot of sign shops want to do it that way. I charge the customer $10 a square foot for a digitally printed banner with hems and grommets or whatever. So that's fine. If you want to enter your formula items in as retail and you're making enough money to cover your overhead, that's fine. You can enter it in. Or if you want to figure out the actual cost of a 4x8 banner, you can just do the math, divide it. That's your cost per square foot on a product or an upright inch on a product. Then you can put your markups here. I added this category special order item. So if say for example, when you're in a quote and you have to order things like a banner stand or framing or whatever, something that you're not going to necessarily, it's just a special order part that you want to have a separate type of markup on it. So you can set up these item categories and have nothing show up in the drop-down menu, and then you just type things in on the fly. And that's the same with subcontract work too. So if you guys end up subcontracting out a lot of your work, then no problem. Same thing. I set this item category up, and you can add more categories or whatever. If you do have a salesperson and you always charge a percentage discount, a percentage commission, then you can put sales here. Discounts, generally you don't want to mess with that on the template, on the master template. Same with extras, unless I say you shouldn't with extras, but let's say, like I showed you in the original one, setup fee, you always have a minimum art setup fee of $50, and it gets taxed, materials and labor, and you just don't want to ever forget charging that. You can always put it in the master template, then every single time you build another product template, it'll be there, and you could always delete it. Taxes you're not going to add here. Master template, you can't change the name of that. So then you save and finish it. So I'm not going to save and finish this. I'm just going to cancel. So now what we have is we have our master template. It's completely tweaked out the way we want it. And then we want to start creating new templates. So we're going to create them for simple things at first, maybe just banners, or if you do channel letters in their upright inch or whatever. And you can build some pretty complex ones. We have some electric sign shops that do a lot of channel letter and cabinet work, and they literally went through and added all their materials, all their labor, and then every time they pull up a channel letter template, then they just got to adjust the quantities based on the artwork that they're looking at. So basically, we're going to make a new template. So we add, we hit new template. This only makes a copy of the master template. So you can do whatever you want here. It's not going to hurt the master template. So let's say, for example, I'm going to get rid of formula items. I'm going to get rid of I'm going to get rid of labor items because let's say you outsource everything. So you can just change this to sign quote, and we're going to keep it at 50% discount, and I'm going to have nothing show up in the drop-down menu. Or if you just want to do everything in one category, I just want to keep it simple, you can have everything show up in the drop-down menu. And then special order items, we're going to keep that there, and we're going to keep subcontract there. And so here is where you're going to start, you're building a template. So let's say this was a 4x8 template. This is where you're going to, a 4x8 banner template. So this is where you're going to start adding like banner material, and we can add, let's see what comes up here, white. Yep, banner material white, so we could say 13 ounce, and then you can add hem, hem tape. You know, we can add that. We can add grommets. I mean, this is a pretty simple one, so, but you can add grommets. So you get the idea. You start adding all this stuff in, and you probably, unless you want to, and some folks do this, you could just do a banner template that is just all, you know, 1 square foot or whatever, and just leave it. And then when you're actually doing a quote, you'll come in here and enter, well, this is a 4x8, this is a 4x8. So that's completely up to you. Some folks say, well, look, I sell a lot of 4x8 banners. I sell a lot of 5x10 banners. Those are pretty standard pricing. Same with, you know, Coroplast signs or real estate signs. Usually they're 4x8 or 5x10. So you can build specific templates out for exact sizes as well, and then you just save them under categories. So, and here, let's say you do have a salesperson, so you want to come in, you want to add 10% commission. We're not going to deal with discounts now because we're still building templates. We're going to say we're going to say extra. We do have an art setup fee that we always want to charge, and it's $50, and we're going to apply tax to the labor and the materials on that. Taxes, obviously, we're not going to set those up now because we're still just building a template, and so we'll call this test 4x8 banner, and then template category, we're going to put this in the banner category. Here is where you want to type, you know, a nice description that'll show up on the quote, and then also go into QuickBooks if you do the integration. So we'll say, you know, best banner in the world. And then we're going to save this. And so now, you know, we can review it, view all templates, and then here we go. We have our best banner in the world. So let's go back for a second to our job list. And we're going to go pull up this job, go to quotes, go to quote from template. Also in a job, you could do a new quote if you wanted to just do something really quick on the fly. All this green button does is it opens up a copy of the master template inside of this job, and then you can basically type anything you want, and then it'll save it. So, or you can do it from the template, which is great if you take the time to build some of these templates so that you can see, here's the template we just built. You open it. You know, you can add, you know, I can add on the fly, I can add banner stand, and let's say, you know, I'm getting one of those, and the unit price is $200. It's an expensive banner stand. And then let's see, and we're going to say this is a 4x8 banner, so it's going to adjust the price. We're going to say grommets. There's going to be 12 of them, so it's going to adjust that price. So and we'll say this is going to be 32. Okay. So now, you know, we come down here, we have a sales commission. Let's say, oh, well, this is just an in-house job. There's no salesperson. That's fine. You can delete it, and it's not going to hurt the template that we just built. So if we went back and pulled this up under next job, that'll be back in there. You know what this requires? The setup's going to be a little bit more complicated, so I can change this here. And also, I can come up to commission and upcharges. I can even come here and say, okay, well, this customer was a pain in the PITA charge. And we're going to say amount is $50 just because they annoyed the living daylights out of me. Of course, I'm sure you guys don't have any customers that do that. Best banner in the world, and we can add more to this. Banner stand, notes and details. Let's say we ordered this banner stand from your supplier and it was part number 2222. And if you want to change the name of this, you can. And this customer is, Coke banner 1. You can change it to whatever you want. Save and finish. So now, forgot to add taxes. So I can go back and edit this. And it's good to look at that summary. Add tax. And we'll say local. And save and finish. So now we have our tax as well. All right, this looks good. Look at the summary. Generate a contract. Again, it's going to, this particular job this is the first quote for this job. So it's already selected. Looks good. Thanks so much. And I want to make this bold. So Command B. It's nice and bold. And save it. There you go. So now you have your quote. And again, you can download this and email it to the customer. So anyway, well, that is a pretty good overview of the quoting tools that are in SignTracker. If you have any questions, there are going to be, you'll find more videos on our website that go into smaller segments of getting this set up. If when you're setting everything up, you get stuck on anything, please feel free to reach out to us. Use our little chat tool down here in the right corner, and the entire team gets that so we can answer questions. And that's it. So thank you guys so much for spending time with me, and let us know how we can help.